Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I'm Lami Ali. Franklin Ife is the sign language interpreter. These are the leading stories. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia launches $1 billion King Salman's development initiative in Africa. INEC distributes election materials for Saturday's off-cycle elections, urges staff to be patriotic in their dealings. Global experts in social safety programs meet in Abuja, develop new mechanism to tackle poverty. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia says it has launched King Salman's development initiative in Africa for projects and programs exceeding $1 billion over a span of 10 years. Details with Musa Aliyu.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, while speaking at the ongoing Saudi Arabia-Africa Summit holding in Riyadh, the kingdom's capital, said the government envisioned injecting Saudi investment exceeding $25 billion across various sectors. The commitment, he said, includes providing $10 billion in financing and insurance for exports and offering an additional $5 billion in development financing for Africa until 2030. He also announced that Saudi Arabia's plans to expand its diplomatic presence in Africa has increased the number of embassies to over 40. The Crown Prince also expressed support for the African Union full membership in the G20. He welcomed the resumption of talks in Jeddah between representatives of the conflicting parties in Sudan, expressing hope that dialogue will be the foundation for peace. In the meantime, Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said Nigeria is ready for business while assuring investors of some of the world's highest returns on investment. The president said Nigeria is desirous of enhancing collaboration with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on combating terrorist organizations such as Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other violent extreme groups which have been terrorizing the Lake Chad and the Sahel regions. The Nigerian leader said Saudi Arabia, like his country, is diversifying her economy away from oil dependence to promote sustainable development. He said his administration has undertaken bold economic reforms by removing wasteful subsidies on petroleum and the margin of her foreign exchange market, among other incentives aimed at improving the ease of doing business in Nigeria. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
Uganda and Tanzania have signed an agreement on a feasibility study for a gas pipeline linking Tanzania's vast but remote deepwater gas fields to Kampala. Justin Bem reports that the energy ministers for the two countries signed a bilateral agreement to construct a natural gas pipeline that will boost energy security and economic growth.
Tanzania is awaiting cabinet approval for a $42 billion liquefied natural gas LNG project to unlock the 57.5 trillion cubic feet natural gas deposit. Its energy ministry in May reached a deal with Equinor, Shell, and ExxonMobil for the development of an LNG export terminal after years of delays. The pipeline will transport natural gas from Tanzania's southern regions to Uganda, where it will be used to power factories and generate electricity. The project is also expected to create jobs and attract foreign investment. The agreement was signed on behalf of Tanzania by Deputy Prime Minister Doto Biteko and Uganda by Minister of Energy and Mineral Development Ruth Nankabirwa. Speaking at the signing ceremony, Biteko said the project will increase the demand for natural gas and boost gas extraction in Tanzania's Lindi and Mtwara regions. He also said that Kenya and Botswana have expressed interest in Tanzania's natural gas. Biteko urged investors to come and invest in the natural gas sector, noting that gas processing has reached 250 million cubic feet per day, with 80% used for electricity generation and 20% for industrial, household, and transportation purposes. Biteko said that the agreement is based on a memorandum of understanding signed by the two countries in August 2018, and that the two countries will work together on a feasibility study to assess the project's design, gas demand, pipeline size, and other important factors. Biteko also noted that Tanzania has discovered large quantities of natural gas, approximately 57.54 trillion cubic feet, and that the government is continuing to explore for new sources in areas such as Eyasi, Wembere, Mnazi Bay North, Songo West, Lake Tanganyika, and the Deep Sea. Minister Nankabirwa of Uganda said that her country recognizes the importance of the project and is committed to its acceleration. She urged the Joint Implementation Committee to expedite the procurement process for the lead consultant and the feasibility study. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
Now, head of Madagascar's lower house of parliament has called for the suspension of next week's presidential elections after weeks of regular opposition rallies. Christine Rosana, who leads a mediation group to find a way out of a political crisis that has raged for weeks, said the current situation in the country did not allow for a free and credible vote to be held on November 16th. Again, Justin Bemunyi has details.
Razana Mahaswa told a press conference in Antananarivo that the mediation group strongly demands that authorities suspend the presidential election scheduled for November 16. She said this was to ensure peace and harmony in the country, where political tensions have been running high in the run-up to the vote, which was already postponed by a week. However, a spokeswoman for Madagascar's outgoing president Andry Rajoelina called the request a far-fetched idea. The country's laws do not provide for the suspension of a vote, and any such decision would require government approval. The Indian Ocean island nation has been shaken by a fierce battle between President Andry Rajoelina, who is running for re-election, and most opposition leaders. 11 out of 13 opposition candidates have led near daily unauthorized marches in Antananarivo for more than a month, protesting at what they have called an institutional coup that favors the incumbent. The demonstrations have been regularly met by a strong police presence. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
A team of surgeons in New York have performed the world's first transplant of an entire eye in a procedure widely hailed as a medical breakthrough, although it is not yet known if the man will ever see through the donated eye. Let's get details from Justin Bemunyi.
The groundbreaking surgery involved removing part of the face and the whole left eye, including blood supply and optic nerve, of a donor and grafting them onto a line worker from Arkansas who survived a 7,200-volt electric shock in June 2021. Aaron James, 46, suffered extensive injuries including the loss of his left eye, his dominant left arm above the elbow, his nose and lips, front teeth, left cheek area and chin. He was referred to New Langon Health, a leading medical center for facial transplants, which carried out the procedure on May 27. Transplanting an entire eye has long been a holy grail of medical science, and though researchers have had some success in animals where they have restored partial vision, it's never before been performed in a living person.
The procedure is no longer an experiment, and I would go one step further to say that face transplant should not even be considered an experiment anymore. It is standard of care for individuals with severe facial disfigurement. The inclusion of the eye, I would consider an experiment, but how we go about performing the operation, how we go about matching the skeleton, how we get things to fit, and the comfort that we have, the confidence to perform these procedures precisely is important. But you also have to be surrounded by a team of experts, a superb anesthesiologist that can maintain hemodynamic stability in the operating room, individuals in radiology that can give us precise measurements, of vascularity of the bone, and the instruments that we can create to perform these procedures precisely has allowed us to move forward. And that's why we've been able to trim the time from where I started in 2012 from 36 hours to now 21.
A retina ophthalmologist, Vaidehi Dedania, confirmed that the transplanted left eye appeared very healthy. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
And in other news, African Development Bank AFDB President Akinwumi Adesina on Thursday pledged greater commitments to the development of cities. He therefore stressed the need for increased investments and autonomy for municipalities as the continent's engine for economic growth. The bank's chief spoke at a high-level forum for mayors titled Leveraging Cities and Municipalities for National Development, held on the sidelines of the Africa Investment Forum 2023 Markets Days in Marrakesh, Morocco. The meeting, co-organized by the African Development Bank and Big Win Philanthropy, brought together mayors and governors of several major African cities, including Lagos, Dakar, Addis Ababa, Abidjan, Kigali, and Nairobi, as well as representatives of governments and financial and development institutions. Additional said in welcoming remarks that the mayoral forum launches what we hope is the beginning of new collaboration between financial institutions, cities, states, and municipalities to accelerate the growth and development of Africa. He added that it also shows the priority that the partners and investors in the Africa Investment Forum will place on improving investments in sub-national level projects. The session also included a presentation on a new report on African cities titled From Millions to Billions, Financing the Development of African Cities, commissioned by the African Development Bank. Now, experts in social safety programs from around the world are working around the clock to address poverty level in Nigeria in line with the renewed hope agenda of the present administration. The conference, which is organized by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution in partnership with the Conflict Research Network of West Africa, is holding in Abuja. David Irie reports.
Global bodies in humanitarian services, including UNICEF, are here to work out contemporary mechanisms to tackle challenges associated with the implementation of social protection programs in Nigeria. Tagged Social Protection and Economic Uncertainties in Fragile and Conflict-Affected Society, the conference seeks to understand modern ways to cater for the vulnerable in a society with high-level poverty and make necessary recommendations to the government for action.
The right institutions to deliver, on the supposed social protection, and then the human capacity as well, to deliver, on social protection. I think those were particularly very missing. And that makes social protection policy in the past too heavily vulnerable, to leakages.
The conference believes that building a social protection system that is responsive to those affected by conflict is a major step in tackling the problem of poverty.
In Nigeria, over the last decade, the social protection architecture has advanced significantly at both federal and state levels. We expect this progress to continue with the strong political mandate set out by President Tinubu in the government's manifesto.
It is crucial for all of us to gathered here today to recognize that in the face of adversity, the children of Nigeria and their families continue to show remarkable strength, courage, and resilience. They embody the enduring spirit of this nation and serve as a testament of the indomitable human spirit that refuses to be broken.
Collated relevant data from this research work is expected to serve as a springboard to the implementation of social protection programs of the federal government. In Abuja, David Irie, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. We now take a break. More stories when we return. Do stay tuned. Now, the 6th Africawide Agricultural Extension Week holding in Abuja, Nigeria, is being used by extension experts to work out modalities at reincorporating agric extension services into the national food security agenda across countries in Africa. Kelvin Iunwai reports.
harnessing agricultural extension and advisory services in scaling regenerative agriculture and nature-based solutions for food systems transformation in Africa is the focus of the week-long program. More importantly, is the need for extension experts to find a new creative digital ways of taking their messages to the rural farmers anchored on homegrown solutions.
Now on, there will be a faster movement of technologies from research to the farming communities and even to the universities. Thereby, we are going to solve the problems much faster.
That is why field trips were incorporated into the program, which took participants to the CSS Group, a leading technology-driven farm, which has become the baseline and revolutionizing the agricultural sector in Nigeria by providing organically grown produce anchored on value addition and marketing, as well as training.
From what I have seen in this farm, the issue of food security agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is realizable.
The African problem is we import what we eat and we don't produce enough of what we should be eating. So this starts to address that. But I think it also just gives visibility to the use of technology in addressing that problem.
With a commitment from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, the National Policy on Agricultural Extension evaluated at this conference is expected to be rolled out soon. In Abuja, Kelvin Ebunwaye, NTA News.
And still on agric matters, Nigeria is expected to experience an increase of 400,000 metric tons of cultivated maize annually with the introduction of a new variety of maize produced by Nigerian agronomists. Minister of Innovation and Science says government will save about $284 million by adopting the new maize variety. Musa Aliu reports.
Drought and fall armyworm are identified as major challenges affecting maize farming in Nigeria. Owing to these factors, the country's yield per hectare has been on the decline. However, the good news is that Nigerian scientists have developed a new variety of maize seed that is resistant to drought and insect infestation. Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology visited a demonstration farm in Abuja. Satisfied with the output, he says the seeds will be made available for farmers in 2024.
Beyond the reduced reliance on chemical, the economic implications are profound. This innovation will counteract the annual fall armyworm-induced losses exceeding $268 million United States dollars.
BT cowpea with potential yield of 2.9 to 3 tons per hectare, as against the local variety with 350 kilograms per hectare, all developed by our scientists in collaboration with IR Zaria, ATF Kenya, and other national and international collaborators.
Nigeria has a deficit of about 3 to 5 million tons of maize annually, while the national output stands at 20 million tons. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
The election matters now as voters in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states get set for tomorrow's elections. Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu has urged both regular and ad hoc staff of the Commission to demonstrate the highest level of patriotism and professionalism in their conduct. In a special message ahead of the elections, Professor Mahmoud reminds INEC staff that the Commission is not a political party but interested in the process. The choice of who becomes the governor of Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states is entirely in the hands of voters, the INEC chairman noted. Professor Mahmoud says all sensitive and non-sensitive materials for the elections have been delivered and the bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS configured for deployment to polling units as the only means of voter verification, fingerprint and facial biometric authentication of voters. Polling unit results will be uploaded to the INEC result viewing portal. All election duty officials have been trained. Arrangements have been made for land and maritime transportation to enable early commencement of voting. For these off-cycle elections, INEC is deploying 2 national commissioners, 9 resident electoral commissioners, and administrative secretaries, as well as additional staff from different states to each of the 3 states concerned. Now, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has finally cleared the coast for former Minister of Petroleum Resources Timipri Silva to participate in the governorship election in Bayelsa State. The appellate court on Friday dismissed the last of the chains of suits seeking the exclusion of the All Progressives Congress APC governorship candidate in the governorship poll, delivering judgment in an appeal instituted against Silva and 2 others by one Honorable Isikima Ogbomade Johnson. Justice Binta Zubair held that the suit was not only unjusticiable but brought in bad faith by the appellant against the respondents. The court agreed with counsel to the respondent, James Oguonoja, a senior advocate of Nigeria, that the allegations of taking oath of governorship office twice being held against Silva cannot stand in the face of the law because the first one had been invalidated by a competent court. Justice Zubair also dismissed the allegations against APC that its April 14, 2023 primary election, which produced Silva as its flag bearer, was done in contravention of provisions of the law. And the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has reserved judgments in the appeal filed by the APC governorship candidate in Adamawa in the 2023 election, Aishatu Lahiru Binani, challenging the verdict of the Election Petition Tribunal. Judiciary correspondent Austin Anyebe reports.
The All Progressives Congress governorship candidate is praying the Court of Appeal to set aside the judgment of the Governorship Election Tribunal in Adamawa State that upheld the election of Governor Amodu Fintiri of the People's Democratic Party. At the hearing section on the appeal Friday, counsel to the appellant said the tribunal erred in affirming the election of Governor Amodu Fintiri, faulting INEC declaration of the election instead of the court to decide after 2 declarations. But counsel to INEC and PDP opposed the position, saying the declaration of Governor Fintiri was in accordance with the provisions of the law guiding the conduct of elections.
Everybody knows that there were 2 declarations. There were 2 declarations. The declaration of Hudu Yunus Hari, which is alleged not to have been made in consonance with the Electoral Act. INEC declared that declaration null and void. And we are saying that INEC does not have power to declare a declaration made null and void. That power belongs to the court under Section 149.
Our position is very simple. INEC only made 1 declaration, and INEC returned only 1 person. And that is what we are here to defend. And as far as we are concerned, we told the court that the election was conducted substantially in accordance with the law. And the issue that there is 2 declaration does not even exist. The person who had the power to make the return is the one known by law, and that is the one that we stood by. In any event, the resident electoral commissioner had no power to make a return. It is only the state collation/returning officer that had that power.
The 3-man panel of justices, having heard the contending issues, formulated for determination, reserved judgment. From the Court of Appeal, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
And before we go, here's a quick check on Saturday's weather forecast. We thank you for watching the news. I am Lami Ali, and my sign language interpreter has been Franklin Ife. Have a good evening.